we got that, right?
Yep.
Okay, so this is not cropped in, and I still haven't decided what to do with it. But, so what I sent y'all was cropped. Did I send it to y'all? Yeah, I did send it to y'all. Okay. So you can see I've drawn in here with the black pencil. And the difference between this and what we're doing when I demonstrate and when you are doing this is that we have a tracing. Okay, I just freehanded that. And so I was feeling very,
Free.
loose and happy and free. Oh, the other thing is that the pencil needs to have been soaking. See, that one's long enough. No, don't put yours to soaking right now because the demo will be too long and it will fall off.
Oh,
Okay, so what this is doing is this is softening your pencil because you could get much more expressive lines when it's soft, and you can also get lines that have texture to it. And again, anything that's soft will not bear down into the lower parts of the texture, and so that makes it have, you can have a nice, textured line. So that just helps you get some variety in the line. And if you look at this, you will see that this has, there are soft areas, there are real light, just barely drawn areas. And some places I may have gone back over intentionally. What I did to make that happen was that I splattered the paper first because I had no idea exactly where my lines were going, but I splattered big fat splatters, and that really helps you get that randomness as to where the darks are. If you know exactly where you're going with it, you could pre-plan, where you wanted to put water, but that's a little hard in this. So you just want this to soak a little bit, and you have a paper towel handy. So you can see that's really coming off on the paper towel. So I think that's about right. Okay, so let's try this. I'm going to kind of look at that one because that one, like I said, sometimes you just dash something off and it was a lot better than something you worked and worked and worked on. Sometimes the harder we work on something, the worse it goes. So let's see what these lines. See, and I could turn this sideways and get a fat line. Or I can go up on the tip and I can get very gentle with it. So you see the wonderful variety of looks that you can get with the one pencil. You have to keep this moistened. So then you want to be smart. Already have your brush out, especially if you're being filmed. And since you have an already existing drawing, which is a little harder to have that free look when you're going over a drawing, but you could possibly say, okay, I like where she's got some dark spots, so I'll put a nice blob of water there. Here I'm just gonna. All right. So I have spent quite a bit of time with a sketchbook, a large sketchbook, sketching flowers, because flowers are real great to do because you've got interesting forms, but if you're off, you don't have to panic about it, so you can just enjoy drawing. Whereas, if you're doing a human face or something, maybe you try too hard, or even something that just seems precise to you. Okay, so let's see. Let's just take our pencil, and I'm holding it like this. And what I want is, some of the time I want to lose a line, or I want it to get stronger, or maybe I just want a wider textured thing like that happening. Oh, I put water down here, but I missed the right spot, didn't I? That's really good. Water right there. Sometimes our pencil gets too wet, and then when we travel, we start to drag a monotonous line. One of these that just goes on and on, the same thickness. Well, I'm not getting it to happen, but trust me, it happens. So you have, stifle the laughter. Okay, you have your paper towel in case that starts to happen to you, because you don't want to drag just a big fat line around everything and have it look like a coloring book. So a lot of the time where two areas join, it's kind of a cool place to have something dark happen. So, and you could have some places where you just don't even bother putting a line in. Like, I really wanted that to, you do that. Because if you've got a few little black spots, that are extra dark, they kind of dance around there. So, speed up your pencil, slow it down. I do this better standing up too, but it's too hard to see there. That was all pretty dry, except that the pencil is moist enough that I'm still getting an interesting line. So I think though that I've penciled off most of the really soft part, so I'm re-dampening it, and again I get a little of the extra water off of there. I've got something happening there. I don't know what that was. So again, I'm just looking for a variety of lines. And this doesn't have to be a continuous line, by the way, even though it's kind of a contour piece. Here, we'll just, okay, and see, fast. When I'm drawing, I draw fast and slow, but again, when I'm trying to trace over a line, different deal. So I know that this is harder for you than it is for me, simply because it's harder to trace than it is to draw the original. So I've got something like this. Now this is all pencil that is been pretty wet, and so it's probably going to set in the paper rather than bleeding when you get it wet. But I would take a paper towel at some point, maybe let it set a couple of minutes, and then maybe take a paper towel and just gently give it a blot so that the heavier places come up. But as long as your pencil lead's been really softened, that's probably going to be pretty nice there. Now we have these little stamens that you could mask out if you wanted to. I prefer just to put white ink in later. So that's your prep work, and then we will, oh, wait a minute. That's not all of it. There's a cactus here, but I didn't draw any of that because I've given you stuff to look at. And you can also, like I said, there's a cactus in the picture, which you have on your tracing if you wanted it. And there's a possibility that you decide to do something else with it, and I'm going to show you in a minute what I'm getting at. So about all I did was indicate a little bit that there's a bit of a cactus here. You could just do some. All of this is just making a little bit of confusion there that gives you a little bit of other texture. And I kind of like these kind of things. But they're not, absolutely not necessary. Oh, there is this center little pod thing, whatever it is, there, and you may want that drawn in. Okay, I was going to show you. Okay, this is a space between the petals. Had that little dingy thing sticking up there, which I did not draw.
It's in your photograph too.
Yes, it's in my photograph. I don't know what that's about, but you could have that or not have that, whatever. So anyway, what I was going to have you do was go back and do this much, and then we will regroup. Y'all can see that I have something else here that I've worked on. I was testing out a totally different style that I decided didn't work here. Although when I look back at this, that's kind of pretty anyway.
Yeah.
But that's not what we're doing.
It's like the water they make.
Yeah. Anyway, it's got that very luminous look.
It's very.
Whereas this isn't as much luminous, but what this is about is that high contrast between here and here. And that high contrast with little bits of white left. You see, I've left some white at some of the edges too, not just sparkles in the middle. I think some of that works. Even here where this line is holding the edge of the deal, and then the color doesn't even come up to that edge. And I think that works. A lot of that was as when you're just happily painting, that's when you make, you go back and analyze it later because the happy stuff, and you try to recreate happiness. Yeah. Okay.
So this is philosophy class also.
Yeah, this is deep. This is so deep. We go deep.
No extra charge.
No extra charge. No extra charge. So I'm going to put out. Okay, this is Quinn Rose. And my Quinn Rose was, see, I'm scrubbing it up there because my Quinn Rose was wet enough that I got some gooey paint. And I might want that. I used to be all about glazes because you can layer them, get them dry, and you have this wonderful control. But having control all the time is just pits.
So what is cracked up to be?
Yeah. So, and this piece was drawn, so it's not quite the same proportions. This one was traced, so this is the actual proportions of the real flower, if you care about those things. Okay, so you can see that I'm putting down, actually this is small enough that I'm going to use a smaller brush. These brushes hold so much water that you can use a pretty small brush and still work very, very wet. I just love these brushes. Okay, so I'm putting down some kind of strong paint here. And, I'm just kind of blobbing it down. I'm not carefully stroking it out. And I think that's important. You see, we've got an uneven edge there instead of a nice, smooth thing. Well, that's going to actually make for a better painting because even as we add water and bleed some of that out, it's possible that some of that original edge may influence this a little bit and make just a slightly more exciting looking petal. And this is one of the ones where I got real light at the edge. So I'm going to take that and I'm going to wash my brush in fresh water because this is never going to be white. And I'm going to gently bring that up a ways, but not quite to the top.
Is this where you're sneaking in from the other side on it?
I could have snuck, but I didn't. I forgot about sneakiness. Oh, okay.
I thought that looked pretty sneaky.
I did,
Well,
I did too.
Well, thank you. I try. I really try. Okay, so I don't know what this. Oh, this is underneath of this petal. And if you look at this flower, it doesn't show too much on the print. It shows a little bit. If you look at it on your phone, you're going to see that it does something that this one doesn't do. And I don't know if we want to try it, but this is red down here. This is pink, but that looks really like red. So you might want to try that. On the other hand, I separated this from this on this one, like this. And in a way, I think that's the more important part because it gave us a more interesting shape. Remember, you're just dealing with shapes and you want them to be interesting. I'm going to stick with that. Okay. So maybe I'll even go straight into my thick paint. It's okay. So let's see. Well, I had more room there because this is a tiny thing in reality.
Now, what color is that?
That is still quinacridone rose.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So now I want this to be dark, but not as strong as that. So by working this out and having this be light, you get that strong transition from dark to light. That just makes some things more exciting. Okay, I'm going to skip this petal because I want to let some of that dry. So we'll come over here. I'm just going to do one more petal and then y'all know how to read this from here. But know that your photocopy is not a very pretty one. And so you're going to punch up the color some from that. I think it doesn't have enough blue in it for one thing. so your rose looks kind of orange.
So when you did-
I've got to find a better
When
place
you
to get
did this, did you
Bridgestone.
put some blue in there?
I don't think I did here,
Okay.
but here I kept it lighter, and I was just adding blue in to cool it to make it recede, as opposed to going darker. Here I'm just going strong dark here. So we'll just play with it again. Make some of this a little uneven, and it's still got to be wet enough that you can come back and
Sneak
break
up on
it up and let some things happen. Yeah. So you don't want to come in like you're painting a wall and start doing that. Okay. Okay. So let's drop some water in over here. And see, and this brush is great for this. You can just drop little bits in right out of the tip, because it doesn't retain a sharp point, but at the same time you can make a sharp point when you want it to. So it's just pretty remarkable brush. Okay, so I'm washing it out in the clean water, because you're going to need, to go from a really strong dark to a lighter like this, you're going to need 2 things of water. You really are. So here, and some of this, I want to bring this to the edge. This is the only layer that I'll ever put in here, but okay. So I want to get to all of this though before it starts to dry. Okay. So see what's happening here? Now that creates some excitement.
Mm-hmm.
All right. You can always come in afterwards and add some deeper. So I'm going to say, go along your whole flower, and you may have to go with a hairdryer or something between. I don't know. And then we'll regroup.
No, I did
She
the
can-
recording on the portrait.
She can count to 6.
She can count to 6.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
That's,
forgot.
that's all you need to know.
Okay, so that's rich, dark there with that. And there's plenty of other ways, because I like phthalo green with it, which goes a little purpley. This just stays, more balanced.
Yeah.
All right. So the other thing is, if you look at this one, you can see that I used my square brush in here, which I like doing. I got the Perylene green out. It's spelled Peryylene, and I'm probably going to be using that a lot more often, because despite the fact I turned my nose up at it for so many years, because somebody else kept pressuring me to use it, and I was like, I don't need that.
You don't like to be pressured.
Set that on the video.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh.
Yeah.
So
Cut.
Yeah.
I don't.
So it looks like it's sort of a bluish phthalo green.
Yeah, it's a phthalo green it's dull. It's grayed down
Yeah,
a
that's
lot.
the word, that's the word.
So, and it's got a bluish cast to it, as opposed to when I was adding burn umber to. So you could though throw some burn umber in here and get some interesting darks that way. Not saying that you wanted dark there. Maybe you didn't.
Apparently you did.
Well, I do now, don't I? So let's take phthalo green. Well, let's take some Perylene now. And oh gee, what yellow could we possibly use?
Maybe
Twinkles.
queen gold round?
Let's vote.
Oh, that looks kind of dead. Oh,
Olivey.
yeah, 'cause I had that brown in there. Okay, well we're gonna live with it here. We're gonna. So the thing
It's
is,
not too bad once you get it on paper.
Yeah, it's pretty.
well, I thinned it, yeah, and so look. A lot of this has to do with just having a variety of brush strokes built into your repertoire, that you do without thinking. Just like if you were writing, you know how to write all the letters of the alphabet. You don't have to think about how to make the shapes. Well, this is the same kind of deal. You can And when you've got a brush like this, you can just kind of dab in. And then a flat brush is great because you can also get some nice square shapes, which I love to get. And you want to vary color some. So there's some pure Queen Gold. And you don't have to get it all down yet or decide what it's going to be. I've just got stuff happening, you know, just stuff. Like I told my grandpa once, well, he said, what are you keeping over there? I said, just stuff. Yeah. So, stuff, what stuff? I don't, just stuff. The little kids
What'd your
answer.
grandpa do?
Huh? He was a farmer. So, farmer, mailman, gravel loader, name it. Okay, so maybe some things like that. You might let those, and you could do this all over, you know. And I didn't totally encircle the flower. I left some of it open. I still don't know what I'm going to do there. I did want some more flower color somewhere else besides this because I started this just sitting right there flat in the middle, which is not a good thing. So I've got an asymmetrical something going here. I'm still thinking drawing buildings back there, but I haven't done it. So you could let that sit. So let's let that sit a minute. Let's come down here and let's just, okay, well, I don't even know what I'm picking up. I'm washing my brush out so that I can get a different, you know, something a little different on the brush each time. Because if I just dip into a different place, it'll be a little too much like what I've already got. Because what I've got mixed is all, well, gee, that still came out the same. See? See, what did I tell you? Okay, so, and I'm not going to worry about where my edges are on my cactus thing right there. I'm going to break those edges entirely right now. And then later I may build in some discerned edges or not. I don't. It's kind of fun to work without too much of a plan. Well, depends. Everything depends, doesn't it? Okay, this is just the pure perylene green. So we've got kind of a bluish tone in here. I had even wet down the cerulean, thinking that we might work towards some bit of a blue in here. So that's all I'm doing is getting some stuff happening. And then as it begins to dry, I like this little, I want to even this up right there, make the edge of the flower stand out. But as this is drying, you play in it, so you have to sit and watch the water dry. And you could, as it began to dry, you could spatter into it. You can add water to it. And here's the thing. As these individual shapes begin to dry, what happens is, when it's really wet, is that the outside edge dries faster than the inside. And because of that, you can get a line around there. So sometimes it's fun when it's starting to dry to drop the water in and let it chase it to the edges and you get a little fine line. Or sometimes it's fun to blot it and again maybe have some of those edges just hold up and then you work on top of those. They're just pretty. They just do pretty things. So let's see. Of course, we don't have time for this to dry. None of it's drying because I want you to work kind of wet and puddly, you know. I'll just take this spot right here. I'll drop a little water into it. It's dry-ish, not dry. You don't want it all the way dry, but you want the sheen preferably to go off. But you see how that's pushing color to the edges? You just got this interesting shape with this little fine edge, and there's stuff coming out of the edge, you know, towards the inside. It just makes a pretty thing that just makes my toes curl. So,
What about the center of the flower?
oh, the center, oh, well, you know, whatever. Okay, the center.
Okay, no more questions?
I would make that what I did here was I went ahead and made it dark and go from dark to light.
Okay.
And so what I did was, if I used like a black or just even a brown, it kind of wouldn't quite fit. I used really strong color here. And you know what? I'm going to cover some of my black, because my black may even look washed out next to this. So what I did was I put some color in like that. And you could do a mixture at first, or you could do it like what I'm doing it, which is strange. But now I'm picking up some of the burnt umber. And what I want here eventually, and I might have to do it in a separate layer, probably would do it in a separate layer, but what I'm looking to have happen is to get the brown to dominate. I want this to be brown, but what I want is I want a brown with so much red undertone that it fits with the rest of this. And then the idea is to wait. But we're not waiting. Okay. The idea is to wait. And then let's do the sneak up on it thing. We just want this to bleed and make soft edges. See, I'm getting red because I didn't wait and use enough brown yet. But we want that, and to possibly, okay, I'll tell you what, we'll just add a little Queen Gold to get rid of that, get rid of the red. We still need a soft edge there, because that will just look like two things.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it looks like it's got a stripe on it. You've got to have that graduated edge. But I want to keep the top really light. And the other thing is I could squeeze out and pull up some color. So I'm looking to do something like that, along those lines. Oh, and of course this should be dark, because this is an opening in here. The other thing is you just play on this and you just, okay, that should do something good there. But this is one layer. So basically what I worked with here is there's more than one layer, and then I came in and added little reddish brown spots, you know, though that was to, and you know,
Did you
spears,
do that
needles.
intentionally? Or,
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, those were placed to indicate something cactus-like going on there. And you know, you could pull in and build some areas. You can do more with this. It's just a matter of kind of playing with it. That's pretty much the whole thing. Other than that, I would get a little bit of some other reds in a place or two to kind of balance this thing rather than have it just, yeah. So that's it. Yeah.